Hello and welcome. This is Kristen from the Online Selling Show, and I am here to give the end of September 2025 stats on what's going on with Whatnot. I started this channel originally trying to create a six-figure business for me to have income when I retire, and I thought I was going to do that on eBay. And if you haven't followed along, I did shift gears in the beginning of March and get into Whatnot very heavily, to the point now I'll get into the update with where I got with my eBay store. Let's go through the stats and then we'll get into that. So in August of 2025, the last thing I gave you was on the 18th of September. So from the 18th of September to the 1st of October is when I wrote everything down. I had 541 reviews and I have 589 reviews. It's really kind of odd because I'll scroll through and I don't feel like when I scroll through that I'm seeing that many more recent. So I'm wondering if they kind of pick and choose who they want to put in what order. I don't know. It does not feel like I got that many more reviews from the last time I checked. And I will say, and I've said it before, double check what people are leaving for you. Double check what the comments say, not just that you have, because it says I have 5-star. And I have had 2 people that I have blocked coming in because of the what they said and the lack of communication to me and that type of thing. So definitely check those out. Now, the 18th of September, I had sold 6,200 items. Said before, it's kind of like a speedometer until I got to 6,300. It won't like roll over, so I don't really know. They just give me 6.2K. So 6,200, I have 6,700 now. And then I had roughly 1,600 followers, and I have 1,700 followers. So I'll give you some of my thoughts on that in a minute about followers. Now, in August, I had a total amount of monthly sales of $9,926.80. Again, the odd amounts are because of people using coupons and applying them. September, I have 6,543. So let's address first the lack of there being basically $6,000 or $6,500 or $3,500 less this month in sales. For one, what you have to offer and what volume of that stuff you have really helps make the determination as to how much consistency you can see. Now, in that particular month, I picked up a great haul of, let's go through it. I had picked up a great haul of paper punches that gave me a show of over $600. I still had ones left from that show that went into other future ones. I also picked up a phenomenal haul of the stamps and dies from Crafter's Companion and Anna Griffin. Think QVC brands here. Had thousands I got in those sales from that alone. I have had some phenomenal vintage Christmas shows, and I still have them going, so I cannot say that there's much difference with that compared to now. But I also had a really good haul of push pins come in of the ornaments, and that was almost a $500 show. I was also part of a raid train. I did the one for a half hour and brought in 300. So there was a lot of things working in my favor in August that in September didn't necessarily equate over. Now in September, I'm not saying it was not successful. I did still have some of the craft items to sell. I was still doing some good shows there. I did get a haul of Hallmark ornaments in twice in this month, maybe even a third time. So I have had that working in my favor. I have had some great hauls of the vintage Christmas, but everything has been Christmas. I've not found something non-Christmas related like I did the crafting before that has that big haul. So sometimes that diversification is really essential to give you the broader spectrum of customers, so you're not going back to the same customer base trying to pull out sales. When you can at least get 2 or 3 niche products or markets, you're going to have different clientele that you can be selling to and get that more consistent income coming in. So I will tell you that for me right now, I'm still in that same boat, and it's led me to want to kind of get some different answers for what's going on out there. And one of the answers I was wondering is, what are other people selling Christmas doing? And I went into their shows, and one particular person, I think she shopped from me, she had 500 and some, like almost 600 people bookmark her show. And I thought, wow, because I think the most I've gotten so far is in the 60s of people, number of people bookmarking my show. Again, that doesn't equate over to what you're going to have for sales, but it will definitely give you some indication as to how desirable things are. So for instance, tonight I'm going to have an Anna Lee Christmas show. I have not put up a lot in the show for the shop. That definitely will help if you can list your stuff in there. Even if it's a random pull and you plan to pull, like I do ornaments, I'll put the box up that I plan to pull out of randomly. And that gives people that incentive to want to be there, because they can see what type or what is the condition of the products that they're going to be bidding on and coming in. So this particular person, when I got into her show, she was averaging about 100 to 125 people in the show. But I really wasn't there for very long. I know that for me, I do very, I want to say upscale, but it is definitely, if I say I'm going to be doing vintage, it's going to be vintage. It's not something vintage inspired or reproduction. I don't do those. I will put some of those in there, but the majority of what I'm going to do is vintage and vintage Christmas. So this particular one was what they're doing in these pallet pulls, meaning they're going out and they're buying basically end of the season clearances or returns and that type of thing from people, unclaimed mail that may have come back, whatever it may be. People like that will go and bundle them up because the businesses don't want to be bothered with basically checking all that condition of the stuff that come back in returns, or it already knew it wasn't going to be that desirable. The unclaimed stuff, they don't even bother opening the packages, and the end of season stuff, they just need to make room for the new season, and they just put all that stuff in these huge cardboard boxes that are the size of a pallet, and they just auction them off, and people will buy those. And that is a lot of what I see on Whatnot. So some people I'm seeing in the Facebook groups and all, they're having a really tough time getting started because they're either in a category that is very, very saturated, meaning maybe they're trying to go in and they want to just do health and beauty, or they just want to do women's fashion. And there's a lot of people I'm seeing that they think what they're buying is really good brands, and maybe they are, but they're trying and they're not getting any sales, they're not getting any traction, and people keep telling them to, just keep being consistent, just keep publicizing out there among your family, not your family, like Facebook and that kind of stuff. That's all well and good, but I've noticed the most traction I can make is when I didn't just do everything that had to do with like stamps. I made very specific. I went to these 2 brands of QVC, or I just did the paper punches. So I'm not saying that I'm doing everything completely successful, but I have noticed, like I said, tonight's show will be the Anna Lee dolls. I will do just them, and then I'm probably going to put in there that I will do some random pulls because I don't have a lot of that product, and if I'm going to be on, I might as well do some other stuff as well. But I'm going to put in there like it's just a Hallmark show. I've done a few of those shows now that it is just Hallmark. And when you get those people that are in there, they stay. They're buying. I mean, we had one person at the last show, they must have bought over 60 items from us. So when you can do it that targeted, you're going to get that kind of a targeted buyer. So my recommendation, if you're following along in my videos, is to try to think of a niche, get into it very specifically. I've seen people that just do a show for like milk glass, or they just do vintage linens. So, maybe you're going to just do women's bathing suits. If you want to do women's clothes, maybe you're just doing women's athletic wear, or maybe you're just doing plus size pajamas. I don't know what it could be, but It doesn't say you have to do that every single time, but if you have a large haul of something and you can separate it out to do specific shows, I wouldn't do men's clothes with women's clothes because they're not necessarily the same buyer. So try and think of it like that. If you're a woman that's gonna have a ton of, let's say, large size clothes, you've just emptied out a closet or something, put it up that you're going to just be selling women's large size clothes. Then you're going to get the buyers in there who are ready to buy for that particular product. Now, I also said that there was something I was going to comment about followers. One of the other things I can tell you that I have been making it a point that I raid at the end of every one of my shows. Most of these times I'm looking for somebody in the same, I'm doing Christmas, I'm looking for somebody in Christmas. I'll be honest, I have not found somebody to raid that I have thought to be on the same level of product of what I'm selling, meaning I go from taking them with Hallmark and I'm putting them into a pallet pool, isn't necessarily the same, but by that point I've given everybody in my show notice of what shows I have coming up that week. I've given them every opportunity to try and tell me if there's anything else out of the show they want. That's how I wrap the show up, is I do a last call. Think of, like, you know, if you've ever been out at the bars and you're closing the bars down, not that I don't think I ever have, but you know, there's that last call. I give out a last call, I kind of chit chat a little bit. I've said a couple times through the show what I have coming up that week. So pretty much anybody that's still left, I will raid over, but it may not be a lot of people, but the people whose shows I go into call me out. I make a point to put a comment in there so they know who I am and it's still on the screen when I have left. And I've picked up several buyers that way from being able to comment in this and then rating them so that they reciprocate. Again, every few people that you can keep bringing in as followers is going to bring in more consistent sales. One of the other things, like I said, if I have Hallmark and I know that I have another Hallmark show, another Hallmark haul I have on the horizon, I will tell them, bookmark my name, follow me, because I expect that I will probably, maybe not next week, but the following week, doing another Hallmark show. So some of the other things is I am very targeted about what I buy, and the ways that I buy them allow me to be able to make deals, allow me to put my stuff up pricing wise pretty good. I learned that I don't want to do the dollar starts because you really don't make the money. Some of that stuff I am going to do another clearance at some point in the next week or two. Those I will put up for the dollar because I just want to get them gone, which will lead me into the next conversation. But I'm trying to do things now for $2 to $3. This is my start, and people love that. When they came in and I did my vintage Christmas, the first thing I did was Christmas ornaments at a minimum of $5, and then when they don't go through the first week, the second week I'll bring them in for $3, because I've usually by that point made back the money and some for paying the haul, like what I paid for in the haul. So for me to go and sell it for $3 is just going to get me even more money, more gravy, and it looks like I'm really trying to give bargains and discounts to people, so they love that. And that is another way that I can go and add in, but is definitely all about how much you pay for an item as to how successful you can be on what you can sell the item for. And that's not saying that just because I buy stuff and I'm putting it up for $5, it's staying at $5. We had one item last week that was a Christmas one that went for $63. I have some in currently, and I'm putting them in Facebook groups for $30 and $40 and getting those back. So don't think that you have to just be limited to that. There is Facebook groups that I'm using, but I'm also using Facebook Marketplace for people to buy stuff and pick it up for my house. One example is I bought 4 tubs of Hallmark ornaments. They were identical tubs. I said, you know what? I sold all the ornaments out. Now I have the 4 tubs. What was I going to do with them? I put them on Facebook Marketplace for $10. I'm going to tell you, people were clamoring to try to get those tubs. It was surprising to me. And I listed them on the way to having dinner with my husband. And I said, I left them on the front porch. I want to have them sold, picked up, and paid for by the time we get home. And that happened. So depending on what you do, don't think about it. There is ways that may not be typically how you think you're going to sell stuff that you can think of and be able to move otherwise. So the last thing I'll end you on now is when I talked about the clearance. One thing I needed to get done was I really needed to go through my downstairs in my basement where I had all the eBay store stuff. There was tubs that needed to get condensed. There was stuff that I knew just needed to get moved out. I did not want to go into this and have another huge amount of space being used to store stuff. This was always about trying to keep things fast and moving. And I kind of hit a slump with the eBay business because I haven't really been listing anything new in there. I've been able to move it so much and whatnot that I haven't had a chance to take it over to eBay and get new stuff listed. So we spent this past weekend, I went through the entire area of everything in eBay, moved that stuff over into a show, and I made $150 in a show. Nothing huge, but this was stuff that I've been trying to discount it and sell it on eBay and everything I can. Probably most people would have just donated at this point because there's been stuff in there for over a year. Now, when I went through it, there was basically 4 tubs I went through. One of them, I will tell you some of the stuff, maybe I had it listed in my store for, let's say, $60. I put it on eBay, listed it for $9.99, and just ran it that way. We'll see how much of those I can report back in my next one, how much of any of those I was able to get sold. And again, they had to be really drastically reduced in price, meaning I had them for $30 and now I put them up for $10, and I didn't do anything less than $10. Then I listed them on Facebook Marketplace. I've moved several things that way. Some of them went right in to donate. I just did not even want to get bothered. Honestly, most of the clothing went in that, and my son took some of the clothes for himself, so he got some freebies out of it. And then the last was that it went into the Whatnot show. So I have probably, counting on everything, probably got about 200 back so far out of the stuff that has just been sitting in my basement. That's not saying everything went that route. Some of the stuff I did just dramatically cut the price down and put it in the store that way, or I should say I ended the listing and relisted with a much lower price so that I could get a new listing going up. So pretty much everything in my store was either ended and relisted for an auction or ended as a buy now. So that's been successful. I think I've sold maybe 1 or 2 items out of the store since it was relisted. Nothing dramatic, but we're taking every day, every dollar that we can as it comes. So we're starting off in October. What did we do? I went to an estate sale yesterday. That was interesting. I was trying to take shot with me videos, but it was really hard. It just doesn't, most of the stuff I'm buying is so, I need to get in there, be like very, very tactical. I mean, my buying for the most part is over within a matter of 10, maybe 15 minutes. I mean, talking to the point where 15 minutes I could have had paid and leaving. That stuff is the stuff that is, if you're not first in the door, you're not getting it. But yesterday I went to a place and there was some stuff in the photos that is a very niche market, and I know from my wholesale business, and they were allowing you to call 15 minutes after the show started to pre-buy the items. And I was expecting to pay for it over the phone, but they were so busy. She said, let me call you back, but I definitely will put this aside for you. And I didn't hear back. So I told her, I said, well, we will be there in about 2 to 2.5 hours. And she said, well, in that case, just pay when you get there. It wound up being that the item I wanted was not the size and not the price in resale that I was going to expect to get, because the size was definitely much smaller on the item. But I did, by going in the house, find a lot of other stuff that I can turn over. So I'm going to be definitely making probably, if not as much more than when I was expecting to go for just the one item. But this house, we had to look it up. My husband went with me and he was like, that house, I want to know, like, because it said it had a sold sign. The house was $1.1 million when they bought it in 2020. And my husband's like, I know it has to sell for probably 1.5 now. I'm like, I could not find it anywhere. I couldn't remember who the real estate agent was, but he said that did have a sold sign on the front, but I said, you know, I don't know. Like, I wasn't finding anything on it. Beautiful, beautiful home. I probably should have done what I want to do, which is actual selling at the show on Whatnot. That is a goal of mine that I would like to get to, because some of these sales, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm gonna wrap up now. I have tonight's show is like the Annalie, like I said, and some random pool stuff because I want to get more out. I'm probably gonna do more of the stuff that is the eBay stuff that I want to clearance. I think I may move some of that into maybe my Friday night show as a buy now, put it up for a very brief period of time and blow that out. So we'll see. That's what I have going on now. I hope I'm going to be able to offer everyone some kind of a benefit from watching this. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them down below. I'd be more than happy to answer them. I have not given up on the eBay store. There is items that I know will do better in that market. I need to get my butt going and get them listed there. And there's just not enough time. Just not enough time. Tons of irons in the fire at all times. Just keep rolling. So bye for now. I will catch you in the next one. Please hit the like button and please hit subscribe so that you can't miss any of my future ones coming up. I'll see you.